Hey guys, Congos from Two to Pass here with you today, bringing you an Aqua Force deck profile. Today we'll be looking at my Maelstrom build of this clan of clans. Yes.
Stop.
Shh. Anyway, without further ado, let's get on with it. Okay, so for our starter, we run Marios. Marios is... Fuck you. Marios is fairly unique in the fact that most starters at some point in the game will leave the field. However, Marios is something that generally sticks around for the entire game. His effect is that when he boosts an attack and it is the third battle or more and it hits a Vanguard, you can look at the top 5 cards of your deck, search for a card with Maelstrom in its name and add it to hand. Now, before Stride era, this was very useful, and with Stride era, it's become even more useful because back then it was mainly a case of more grade 3s is more attackers. However, now having more grade 3s means being able to stride more frequently. So being able to constantly dig and apply constant pressure with this card is the best starter you can possibly have for Blue Storm. Okay, so moving on to the triggers, we run 4 Despina. Despina has a special skill, which I will go into later in terms of combos and stuff. Basically, when she boosts and is the 4th battle or more of the turn, and she is boosting a Vanguard, Maelstrom, of course, your opponent cannot call grade 0s to hand to Guardian Circle. Now, this is very deadly, especially late game, and I will bring this back when we go through the grade 3 lineup. Run 2 Jet Ski Rider, so we are running 6 crit altogether. Next, undeniably the most important trigger in the deck, which is 4 Battle Siren Malika. She is the Margot clone for Aqua Force. Put her into Soul from Rearguard Circle, give any unit plus 3k to end the turn. So this is great for helping cards like Tidal Assault hit good numbers so that they can swing at Vanguard unboosted, and then you make sure 2 attacks hit basically. And also having stuff go into Soul is always good because it can help fuel other abilities later on. Another 2 draw triggers, so we're going 6-6. I find 6-6 to be my personal favourite trigger lineup, especially with a clan like Aqua Force. Blue Storms in particular do not really have much in terms of draw power outside of Maelstrom's on-hit ability, so with this also being a very heavy formation based deck, you want to be able to draw into all your combo pieces in order to make sure you have that perfect field setup. And of course, the best heal trigger in the game, Kitchen Sailor, my boy, not much else to be said. Okay, moving on to grade 1s, we run 4 Perfect Guards, in particular Blue Storm Shield Homerus. Okay, so the best thing about Homerus is that unlike most new Perfect Guards, he can be used in order to guard both Vanguard and Rearguard from being attacked. And this is especially useful when facing off against things like the police, if they've got a big ass Vanguard and they decide to slap a Laurel down. And swing at your Rearguard, of course you can just place this down, or even use a Dismal with Heal Trade, it doesn't really matter now. But versatility is great, and his second effect is also particularly good, which is when you have a Vanguard of Maelstrom and it is the 3rd battle or more of the turn, you can Soul Blast 1 at the end of the battle he boosts, and you can bring it back to hand. So, of course, putting him down, force the extra 5k of guard, and then getting him back, considering he is the only card in the deck that actually requires Soul Blast, is a very useful ability. Next, we have 4 Makos. This is the Limit Break enabler of the deck. Of course, most of my grade 3 game being Limit Break reliant, and I want to get that Limit Break as soon as possible. Going first really helps, especially if you draw into this, because it practically means that as soon as you ride to grade 3, you can start applying insane amounts of pressure. I will come back to this later on. Next, we will run 3 Phaetors. Phaetor is a grade 1 that becomes a 9k attacker if you have a Maelstrom Vanguard, so it is very good for hitting numbers, just slapping down anything, getting them extra attacks in and making sure they're not wasted. Secondly, Wave 2 ability is that when you have a Vanguard with Maelstrom, she gets an additional 3k for Wave 2. So these two abilities stack, meaning that if she attacks second in the turn, and you have a Maelstrom Vanguard, which you always will if you're grade 3, she is 12k on attack, and therefore pretty good. And finally, we run 3 Corelia. Corelia is mainly so that I have the option of flexibility in choosing what I want my grade 3 Vanguard ride to be. Also good for searching out grade 3s when I am later in the game for more stride fodder and stuff. Just filtering deck thinning is deck winning. Okay, so that's all the grade 1s. Moving on to grade 2s, we have a card that all Aqua Force decks should play it for, and that is Tidal Assault. Very simple. When he attacks the Vanguard, he restands, minus 5000 power, ability can only be used once per turn. This card is good and is on the watch list in Japan for good reason. Not much else to be said. Next we have 4 Rascal Sweeper. He is basically a Storm Rider unit, specifically for Maelstrom. He is an 11k attacker if you have a Maelstrom Vanguard, and standard Storm Rider ability, if it's the first battle of the turn and he attacks Vanguard, he can swap with the unit in the same column as him, effectively getting 2 attacks out of one single column, which is very important considering that a lot of abilities in this deck require you to have 4 attacks or more. Another pseudo Storm Rider card, we have Couple Dagger Sailor at 2. Couple Dagger I like a lot because she really gives you that very strong grade 2 game, where, I mean, I say grade 2 game, I'm never really one to stick at grade 2, but one thing that this deck really excels in is being able to force out a very large number of attacks very early game, and this can really help put your opponent in the back foot very early on, meaning that when you do go into your stride turns and such, they generally won't have much to answer with. So, I mean, Couple Dagger, another reason that I also run her is because of Marios. I want to get this third battle or more effect off as early as possible, because a lot of the time, if I open my first 5 and I have a Maelstrom, but I only have like one grade 1 or grade 2, I will generally put my Maelstrom back, because I always feel that I would rather have full field and be able to hit that Maelstrom from Marios effect. So getting in them extra early attacks, always good. Next, for our grade 3s, we run 4 Loose Dragon Maelstrom. However, as you can see, I run 2 of each kind. 2 being OG Maelstrom, and 2 being the new Break Ride from the Clan Booster. So we'll talk about OG Maelstrom first, being the classic Aqua Force unit. So he has a limit break, so if you have 4 damage, he gets the following ability. When he attacks, and it is the 4th battle or more of the turn, he gets plus 5k, putting him at 16 base, and if he hits, you counterblast 1, retire one of your opponent's rear guards, and draw a card. This is what I was talking about earlier in terms of why I max out on Mako, because if I go to turn 3 and I'm going first, I ride to grade 3, generally I will go full ham in order to make sure I get Maelstrom's effect off on that grade 3 ride turn. And of course, if my opponent's still at grade 2 and I'm rushing them with all these kinds of cards, it's very unlikely that they'll be able to guard this, and just getting his effect off once, I feel it really puts you ahead just off the bat. So again, I also run 2 Break Ride. Now the Break Ride I will further expand upon in the combos that this deck is capable of, but to keep things short and sweet, when you ride an Aqua Force unit on top of him, you counterblast 1, that unit gets 10k power until the end of turn, and basically gets gifted OG Maelstrom's effect. So when it attacks the Vanguard, and it's 4th battle of turn or more, it doesn't have to hit, this is very important, you just outright get to retire one of theirs and draw, and with the added bonus of that they cannot call grade 0s to Guardian Circle for that battle. So, and he also has a second ability, which is not limit break related, and also combos very well with Marios. So it is wave 3. if it hits a Vanguard, you can search your deck for one card with Maelstrom and add it to hand. So, of course, Marios being third and Maelstrom Breakbride being third as well, it basically turns your on hit to a just outright search 2 potentially. Generally, I would advise proccing Marios first, because with more Maelstrom units left in the deck, your probability of hitting one in the fight is stronger, and then searching one with Maelstrom. Of course, if you know that you don't have a lot of Maelstroms left for some reason, you may want to just go for the outright search first, but generally it's better to go with Marios, because obviously 2 cards is better than 1. I think now would be a good time to explain as well why I run Coralia. Coralia, if I draw into her, I will always keep her, because whether I use her or not depends extremely upon the fact whether I go first or second. If I go second, generally I'll use Coralia to search the Breakbride. If I go first, I'll use Coralia to search OG Maelstrom, just because of the early rush can really put me ahead, whereas if I'm going second, I get to stride first. So generally getting the limit break off early isn't so much of a big deal. But anyway, enough talking about Maelstrom in his many forms. Let's move on to the rest of the Great Freeze. So Maelstrom has 2 cross rides. We will run both of them. We run 3 Maelstrom Reverse. Maelstrom Reverse is a pretty nifty card in that he was one of the first examples of a lose situation card. His limit break ability is counterblast 1, lock one of your standing units, and for this battle he gets plus 5k and 1 critical. However, if they choose to block the attack, your opponent then, you then choose one of their rear guards, retire it, and then you draw a card. So if they don't guard, cool, you get crit. You hopefully can kill them. If not, no worries, you basically go for the attrition and stuff. Again, this is also why Mako is so invaluable in this deck, because getting this crit as soon as you ride into grade 3, it's very scary to be facing against, especially since I now run crit triggers in this deck. I used to run stands, so the chances of killing them very early with this and this is very high. Finally, probably one of the most classic finishes in the game, we run 2 Glory Maelstrom. Oh yeah, of course, I didn't mention we have Reverse Maelstrom, but they're both cross rides. For those of you who don't know what cross ride is, it basically, if I have Maelstrom in the soul, doesn't matter if it's the Break Ride or OG, and I ride Glory or Reverse on top, they become 13k base. This is very good for defense, of course. It means that they're 16s, you only have to block with a 5, and it generally nets you more cards in the long run. Generally, cross-riding into Reverse is better, and Glory should only really be used for late game. Okay, so with the main deck having been covered, I'll proceed to talk about the G-Zone. So being a Blue Storm Maelstrom deck, of course, I'm going to run 4 Blue Storm Dragon Admiral Maelstrom. Admiral Maelstrom is a bit of a throwback to his original form in that he is an on-hit, so immediately a very good pressure card. Your opponent will want to guard this, and it is Counterblast 1, if it hits, flip 1 card from your G-Zone face up, then you choose 3 of your opponent's rear guards, and your opponent chooses to retire 1 equal to the amount of face-up Animal Maelstroms in your G-Zone, and then you draw 1 card. Always 1 card. Not 1 for each face-up, that would be pretty dumb. Animal Maelstrom, for me, is a prime example of a cascading effect, in that the more your opponent blocks it, the worse it will get over time. So, obviously, I stride into Animal Maelstrom. They choose to block it, no worries, it goes back face up. I stride into Animal Maelstrom next turn. This time, because they blocked it last time, they have no choice but to let it through. So I flip up an Animal Maelstrom, and now they have to retire 2, instead of the 1 that they would have had to retire last time if they let it hit. So, card gets better as the game goes on, but of course it will eventually get to a point where his usefulness kind of runs out, because obviously they'll be at 5 at some point. But that's fine, because once they're at 5 damage, you just run 4 Lambros to kill them off. This card is dumb. It kind of feels like an insta-win card when you play it, like... yeah, it's stupid. For those who don't know, Ambrose's skill is you can actually first stride him, but you won't get the full benefits of his skill. So when he attacks and it's wave 4 of the turn, you can choose 2 of your rear guards and stand them. Then, if the number of face-up cards in your G-zone is 2 or more, them stood rear guards get plus 10k. So of course, late game, when all your attacks matter and your opponent is vomiting their hand to guard everything, suddenly you stand 2 things for 10k, and yeah, it's pretty scary. This combo is extremely well with Tidal Assault. I will go into that in combos, but for now, let's continue with the rest. So these are all 4-offs that I play. The rest is kind of more techie stuff that I find is more for situational situations. Yeah, so first we won 1 Christos. Christos is the first stride that Aqua Force needed and definitely deserved, because previously our only options were stuff like Tidal Ball or Animal Maelstrom. They all have a 3rd or higher attack requirement, whereas Christos is wave 1. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. So he's counterblast 1, and until end of turn, all your rear guards in the front row get plus 2k, and then wave 3 or 4, if stack hits, you may draw a card. So good for stacking onto your good stack onto your talent swords and stuff. Fam, don't kill yourself. I'm sorry. Next we run 1 Aristotle. Aristotle is, for me, the MVP of the G-Zone, in that he is... wave 3, counterblast 1, choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire them. Good for dealing with them pesky Shadow Paladins players, Royal Paladins players, even people who play shit like Sadek and Kaguro. If it's annoying, kill it. No what to say. Once a breeze, if they're stupid enough to try and play grade 2 game with me, in which case they deserve to die, so Sabriz, die. Die. No, you will die! Moving on to G-Gaias, I play 2 Flotilla. I feel this card gets a lot of stick. People are always like, oh, but Julian, I can just attack with 2 of my rear guards first before attacking my Vanguard. Then it gets minus 5k. Oh shit, I didn't I? Oh well, whatever. But would you really go out of your way to get that minus 5k if you're playing a very kind of aggro deck where you would want to put all your triggers on your arrows? I don't think so. It's an easy 20k to achieve, so it is what it is. Next round, 2 Dismal. This deck is very reliant on rear guards, so Dismal keeps them safe. And 1 Screw, just in case I ever find myself with too many cards in my hand and I need that extra 10k. Oh, okay, so I guess now would be a good time to go through combos and stuff. Flex, stay with me, please.
Here's your combos. Are you striding into Lambros? No? Striding into Lambros, win game.
Pretty much, but there are more things to do. So,
yes, you have to vomit your hand first.
Pretty much. So, first go into the break ride, and actually, I think Glory Maelstrom has a lot of kind of things that interact with it in this deck. So, the first being the break ride. Second being the crit trigger Despina. So, calling Despina is the behind Vanguard's only time I'd ever replace Marios, because Marios is king, but every now and then he has to go. So Glory Maelstrom prevents your opponent Guardian calling grade 1 or higher from hand. The break ride gives your Vanguard the effect that they can't call grade 0s. Despina boosts, it means they can't call grade 0s. So, you have two scenarios. First, you break Riot Glory, and basically you get an attack the opponent cannot guard at all. Although, I guess they can call G-Guardians, right?
What?
Yep.
Yeah, they can call G-Guardians, but
That 10k break right though.
but that 10k, yes.
Back in 2014.
Whew. So, however, if you don't have the break ride, you have the slightly weaker option of Despina. So, when your ultimate break, you attack with Glory, can't call grade 1s. You boost with Despina, they can't call grade 0s. Again, another unblockable attack, unless they manage to G-guard it. However, with the amount of attacks you'll be shooting out each turn, I generally like to believe that they won't have the cards in hand to guard. So, let's kind of go over some optimal kind of field formations. I'm losing the guys, so I'll try and wrap this up as quickly as possible.
I thought you were playing Aqua Force very fast as possible.
So,
Half an hour.
Marios is behind. We'll have a Mako at the back to make sure all our limit breaks are alive. We'll have a Rascal Sweeper on the side, a Tidal Assault in front, and a Feta here. So,
We're losing. We're losing it.
so what Aqua Force, apart from Stratons, what the deck makes up for in lack of raw numbers is the number of pokes that they can deliver. Your opponent will be dropping a lot of 5Ks, hopefully 10Ks if they don't have a lot of 5Ks.
Just like you're powerful.
Yeah, but better. So obviously first you go with Rascal Super, so that's 1, that's 5K, 5K. And at this point, you would attack with your Vanguard, because both of these have a wave 3 ability. You get your stuff, you stack all your triggers and Tidal Assault, blah blah blah. Your Tidal Assault becomes super duper with massive crits, and you win the game for Tidal Assault because Tidal Assault is so good. Do you want to just cut it?
This is the man that won Cardiff.
This is it, folks.
do you want to just start? I think I put all of you guys. It's too late. Maybe I should do a combo. I should do a separate combos video. There are too many combos to talk about.
Heard it from the horse's mouth, folks. We'll see you next time.
We will actually go for the legend again. Discarding the cross.
What?
26 the twin sword.
Oh, you got it for it, boys.
Dismal.
Yep.
Oh, dismal.
Oh, desperate.